Alright, we are in section 5.3, and this deals with adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. One of the things we have to keep in mind when we're dealing with adding and subtracting polynomials is combining like terms. So, quick review of combining like terms is we must make sure that they have the same variable and also to the same power. So, even though they may have a variable such as x, but if they don't have the same power attached to them, we can't combine them. So looking at example A here, this is 4x squared plus 7x plus 3 plus, in the other parentheses, 4x to the fourth plus 9x squared minus 8x minus 5. What I need to do is I want to get them out of those parentheses. So the first portion of the parentheses is fairly easy. As long as there's no negative sign attached to the outside of our parentheses, I can just write it out as is. So I got 4x squared plus 7x plus 3. Here, if I have a plus right before my other parenthesis, I can also write what I have inside here as is. So if I have plus, I got 8x to the fourth plus 9x squared minus 8x minus 5. That doesn't change. So now what I can do is, since I've got them out of the parentheses, and it can now combine like terms. So first thing I like to do is find the variable with the highest degree. And this happens to be my 8x to the fourth. And I look through this problem and I don't see any other x to the fourth power, so I'm just going to leave it as 8x to the fourth. I cross that out. Do I have any x to the thirds? I don't see any, so I'm going to go to my x squared. So I have two of them there, so I'm going to combine those to give me 13x squared. Cross those out. Now I have x, so I have x here and I have x here, so I got a plus 7x minus 8x, so that gives me a minus x. Cross those out. Now I have 3 and negative 5, so this leaves me with minus 2. So this is my simplified sum of my polynomial. If I deal with subtraction now, it changes a little bit. The first portion of my parentheses stay the same. I'm still going to write that out as is. Now that I look at my subtraction here, what the subtraction does is it makes me change the sign of each of the values inside my second parenthesis. So I have a negative 12x cubed, so that means I'm going to have positive 12x cubed. I have a minus here, so that gives me plus. Plus here, it's minus. And minus there, it's going to be plus. So that's what the difference between addition and subtraction. The addition in between the parentheses doesn't change any of the signs. If I have a subtraction in between the signs, it means I got to change every sign in my second parenthesis. So with that, I'm going to combine like terms. My highest degree for this particular problem is x cubed. So I find one here and I find one there. So I combine them, that gives me 9x cubed. Cross those out. I have a squared here. I don't see any others, so I can combine it, so it's just plus 5x. Cross that out. I have x here, and I also have x here, so that leaves me with minus 11x. Cross that out, and now I got negative 5 plus a 5, that gives me 0, so I'm just going to leave it as this, as my simplified difference of my polynomial. Now I'm going to deal with multiplying polynomials. So let's say, for example, I have 5x squared times the quantity 6x plus 2. So here, all I'm going to do is distribute. I'm going to distribute my 5x squared to both of these values. That leaves me with 30x cubed plus 10x squared. Now for b, let's say I had something like 3z plus 1 times by z minus 3. So now this is where I would use FOIL. So I would multiply here and multiply here, then I go here and then multiply here. So I got 3z to the third minus 9z. Now I'm going to deal with my 1 and my z, so that gives me plus z minus 3. So I can combine these like terms, and that gives me 3z cubed minus 8z minus 3. So those two examples we've seen before. So what about something like this? I have negative x squared plus 4x plus 1 times quantity x squared minus 8x plus 3. So what I need to do now is I'm still going to do FOIL, but now it's just a little bit more numbers. So now I'm going to attach multiplications to here, here, and here, and I'm going to do that to each of these variables. So now I got 4x, I'm going to multiply here, and then lastly I'm going to go here, here, and here. So dealing with my first one now, that gives me negative 4x to the fourth plus 8x cubed minus 3x squared. So I'm done with that. I'm going to X that out. So now I'm going to deal with my 4x. So that gives me plus 4x cubed minus 32x squared plus 12x. Cross that out. Now I just multiply it by 1. So basically I'm just multiplying it by itself. So I go plus x squared minus 8x plus 3. Now since I got it all multiplied out, now I can combine like terms. So my biggest degree is x to the fourth. I don't see anything there, so I just write it as negative x to the fourth. Cross it out. I got cubes here, here, and that's it. So I'm left with plus 12x cubed. Cross it out, cross it out. I got squares here, here, and there. So that leaves me with negative 34x squared. My x's are there and there, so that leaves me with plus 4x. Cross it out, cross it out. And just plus 3, just one constant. So that's my answer. Sometimes you may have 3 different parentheses. So let's say if I have something like x plus 1, x minus 7, and x plus 3. It's still foiling it. You just doing it one step at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to FOIL out these two parentheses, and then I'll FOIL out the third one once I find the solution to that one. So for these first two, I'm going to get x squared. So it would be what? Plus, I'll say minus 7x plus x minus 7. So that reduces down to x squared minus 6x minus 7. So now I'm dealing with this one here. So now I just multiply this out too. So this gives me x to the third plus 3x squared, so that's done, minus 6x squared minus 18x, so that's done, minus 7x minus 21. So now that's done, so now I can combine like terms. biggest degree is x to the third. No like terms, so I just leave it as is. I got an x squared here, an x squared here, which leaves me with negative 3x squared. Cross those out. I got x combined here, so that leaves me with negative 25x. And lastly, I'm left with is minus 21. Here's my answer. Sometimes they want you to find a volume in terms of x. So let's say that my height here is x plus 2. My length is x plus 5, let's say, and my width says just x. And we know from prior knowledge, volume here is length times width times height. So all I'm going to do is say v equals x plus 5 times x times x plus 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to FOIL out x plus 5 and x plus 2 and then save my x for later. So I'll FOIL this out. I got x squared plus 7x plus 10. And now I have this x here, so now I'm going to just distribute this x to all of these values, which then leaves me with volume equals x cubed plus 7x squared plus 10x. Other things when you're multiplying by polynomials, you find yourself getting special patterns. Some of the things we've done in past classes, some of which are kind of new. So let's do some review. So some indifferences of squares would be like the general term is if I have a plus b times quantity a minus b, this ends up equaling a squared minus b squared. If I got the square of a binomial where I got a plus b quantity squared, this general form ends up equaling a squared plus 2a times b plus b squared. Coincidentally, if we have a minus b quantity squared, this ends up equaling a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So those ones we've seen before, those are review. Now, if I had showed you the cube of a binomial where you've had a plus b quantity cubed, this will equal a cubed plus 3a squared b plus 3ab squared plus b cubed. And if it was a minus b quantity cubed, I would have a cubed minus 3a squared b plus 3ab squared minus b cubed. So those would be the general formulas there. So if I were to ask you to find different products using these special patterns, so let's just say I had w minus 9 quantity squared. So this looks oddly like this one here. So if I pretend that a equals w and b equals 9, I can substitute in those values and help me solve this, find the product of this expression, of this polynomial. So with that being said, I can say that this is w squared minus 18w plus 81. Okay. for b, let's say I have something like 7x minus y quantity cubed. So that looks like this one right here, where a is 7x and b is y. So what I'm going to do is plug those into the equation. So I have 7x cubed minus 3 times 7x squared times y plus 3 times 7x times y squared minus y cubed. Okay? Now I just have to remember my forms of order of operations. So 7 cubed is 343 x cubed minus, I got 7 squared, which is 49. 49 times 3 is 147. So now I got x squared y plus, I have 7 times 3, so that's 21 x y squared minus y cubed. So it's just a matter of plugging them in correctly into the formulas. Maybe like last one, say if I have something like 5p plus 3 quantity squared. So this one looks like this one here, where my a would equal 5p and my b would equal 3. So that means that it would be a squared, so that would be 25p squared plus, so it's 2ab, so 2 times a, which would give me 10p. 10p times 3 would give me 30p, and then plus b squared, which would be 3 squared, which is 9. And that is adding, subtracting, multiplying polynomials. Hope this helps. Till next time.